a little response to what's happening in the world today with this coronavirus. Well, I have an experience that, in good part, was shared to me by my parents because I was a little bit too young to remember things. But back in 1953, I came down with a very severe case of polio. Um, at first, my parents were told I may not live through it. A year later, I came out of that reconstruction home walking with crutches and leg braces. It seems like a lot of what we're going through right now is a parallel situation to what happened back then. My parents related to me that there was a fear, a real major fear of the polio epidemic that was gripping the nation in 1952, 53, 54. There was no vaccine yet. Vaccine was still a year and a half out. So I wasn't able to get the vaccine, and that was a big part of the fear, was that people, if you got the disease, there was uh, nothing to help you fight that disease. Many people died from it, but if you look at the overall percentages of the people that were affected by polio, probably not a large percentage of the population. And the coronavirus, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health official, but I think it's something that we have to take seriously. We got to do the things that help prevent it from spreading, such as washing hands a little more regularly than maybe usual. But I also think that it creates a high level of fear and anxiety. I also think it lends itself to forgetting kindness, something that we kind of promote through the children's book that we just had come out a little over a year ago now. Um, People become a little bit more selfish, a little bit more self-centered, and so I guess that's a natural thing. But I think that if we can control that anxiety and the lack of kindness, that overall it will help everybody combat what we're dealing with here today. If we and common sense. As a parent, my wife and I have lived through some personal situations that have created some high anxiety levels. They're very difficult to deal with. There's no question about that. They're very difficult to deal with, and the anxiety, when it gets so high, has to have a release at some point. I think what's helped me, and at a very young age, I can remember doing this, is compartmentalizing. Um, I have a very strong ability to freeze things out and concentrate on what's at hand. There have been times when my business partner, Doug Cornfield, and I have done some of our disability baseball camps when I've been under a very high level of anxiety. I don't believe anybody would ever know that attended those camps, because I have the ability to, as I say, compartmentalize, box that anxiety out and put it aside to get done what you got to do. At the same time, you got to keep common sense. I mean, I see what's going on in the world. I'm a big Twilight Zone fan. Business partner Doug will attest to that because we watched it every night for many nights when he stayed at my house. Rod Serling was a man ahead of his time. At this situation we're going through right now, is a Rod Serling episode. He would seize this situation and create a Twilight Zone episode out of what's going on right now. There's one specific episode that I want to allude to on this, and it's the episode where there's, and again, this was back in the 50s and 60s, and we also had a scare in the 60s that I remember during the Cold War, when everybody was encouraged to build a bomb shelter in your house and stock it with food because we were going to get bombed by the Russians, by the communists, and we were going to have to isolate ourselves and have enough food and water to get through. Now, that never materialized, and that created a lot of fear and anxiety at that time. I was too young to have that anxiety build up in me because I really didn't know what was going on at that time. But I'm sure my parents had that anxiety build up. Rod Serling created an episode out of that. And what he did was he had these people, the whole neighborhood, 6, 7 different couples having a good time. As they were celebrating the birthday party, it came over the radio that there was a enemy attacking the United States. That if you had a bomb shelter, you better get to the bomb shelter. Only one of the couples had built a bomb shelter. Well, the couple that built the bomb shelter quickly went into their bomb shelter that they had stocked with food and water, and they locked the door. The rest of the people were left outside the bomb shelter on their own device, and they were begging them to let them into the bomb shelter. They wouldn't let them do it. They wouldn't let them come in, none of them. That's creating mass hysteria, that kind of situation. We lose our kindness, we lose our humanity. Those neighbors in that episode, they were all friends and getting along, they were all close, and then all of a sudden it changed because of one situation. We don't want to let that happen. I don't think we need to panic. We do need to take the proper steps, as I said, keep the kindness front and center to help our neighbors, because really, humanity's connected all over this world. We're all connected. We're all here on this planet. And if we lose our kindness to one another, we're in big trouble.